Hello, yeah. Okay, so what am I talking about when I talk about my in my title? Well, it's real simple to think of a large language model as something that takes in information and spits out, like, if we're going to have a conversation with it, we could ask it all sorts of things, and it's trained on all the information that it's able to access due to the constraints program that's designed with. So this all was brought up because of course, a video. Is Google training AI on YouTube videos? He says yes. Well, at least someone is watching my videos. They're probably going to see the word retard a few times. I'm going to never apologize for that. Just as much as certain people say slurs and they think that's okay. My perspective might change eventually. Let's move on from that. The thing is, right, when it comes down to it, the large language model system is not how you control an entire system. It's not the tool for that. And also, what I talk about in the title of my video here, the large language model is not an idea man. Not an idea program. So what does that mean? Well, the idea man, the one that makes the thoughts. If you think about a person, you think about the guy who's talking to you, you when you look in the mirror, your experience of the world, and how you interpret all the stuff that goes on from your senses to give you that experience. But you are not, for example, the internal processes that make up how your brain takes light information and turns it into a picture that you can recognize. Or the sense of where your hand is relative to any other part of your body. For some reason, that information is processed by your brain. It is not processed by you. That's a separate thing. Just like you don't control your heartbeat, you don't control, well, for the most part, you don't control you breathe passively. Your autoimmune system does its own separate set of things. Pain receptors do their own things. Tastes and all of that. So, there's a large portion of what your body does. It has nothing to do with your psychological experience. But the other thing is, and it's more important to understand, a large language model does not an experience haver make. Because a large language model is just the understanding of concepts. That doesn't give it the ability to, it's not the same type of thing as having and constructing memory, or even having the proper systems necessary to imagine or dream or, So what really is, so what's missing? Obviously there are programs that are able to understand all the different stuff about the senses and things. They are separate programs that are much better at math, much better at geometry, and better at all sorts of stuff like managing how the computer is heated or cooled, and stuff that the large language model for the actual program, the interface to the rest of the world, supposed the brain of the AI. There's a lot of that stuff that the AI itself would not need to at all have incorporated in its program. It would be able to separate those functions into other subprograms that have their own specific independent function, capable of running simultaneously with the brain. A large language model is very limited. So if you try to put the entirety of, well, explain to me somehow every single photon, how it gets translated and how it gets turned into subjective memory, like why do you see green when other people see blue, or gray, or whatever other thing, instead of imagining and putting in color where there really, according to all sensors, isn't any, but other people experience it, so it's imagined and somehow hallucinated into existence. Possibly. The point is that the LLM would not at all be in control of something like the camera and how the camera does things, except for maybe how it zooms, but not like the information gathered from each pixel and processed and turned into an image. It would just simply observe the image and be able to maybe tell you something about how it has been described by other people. Although it would say it in the words of, well, this looks like a soft, warm blue or something. I always refer back to Vidal and Neural Sama because the longer I look at them, the more I think of artificial intelligence as being something that isn't just something, it's on the shelf, it's never actually worked on, and it's never even close to being attempted. I feel like maybe it's possible I give him too much credit to say that he's like gonna get there maybe first. It's a collaborative effort. It's a lot of things. And it's also ironically like Zentrea has been able to utilize the voice to then text or text to then speech function, has been able to expand and become better and faster and smoother. It's crazy. It's fun. It's so impressive and it's so neat. And as long as it's true, that is freaking cool. And glad for the progress for Zentrea, and glad for the progress of Vidal and Neural and Evil and whatever other AI they decide to develop. Grape does not make a float very well. So, the thing about having key memories or having like the ability to hear something and then come up with some kind of response that makes sense. To me, I feel like for some reason, if I were to make an AI, I would think of some way to like encode its memory onto something that is like sculpting. It's like how Reddit has that wall that you're able to keep on drawing stuff on, and it'll change and adapt, and then eventually you end up with the movie of all the stuff that was changed one pixel at a time until all sorts of things collaboratively from all sorts of people was able to be designed. And it's crazy to think that out of the many individual dots comes a lot of structure, and that's a collaborative effort of all the people and all of the different memes and things that they want to put on that picture. In a separate idea, like just the fact that they can have those memories that are recorded as part of the picture, and the idea of being able to replay the entire movie of that picture is kind of like how I imagine it would be interesting to think of the memory of a robot, that it could somehow use pictures and encoding to make it so that it has all sorts of information. Like, one line on the picture could be a sentence. Looking at the entire picture in, or one frame of the movie could be like looking at a day. And then looking at the entire movie is like looking at your entire memory. It's interesting to think of that. I don't know. And it obviously would depend on the type of encoding that has to do with the pictures. The RGB values could be insane, that you have all sorts, but then you have to wonder about picture fidelity, and it has to maintain the quality. But I mean, you could also have something similar, and obviously looking at a picture and comparing its information and then what that means into code, like decrypting it, and then like all of that, you'd think that it would be a process that would take more time and information and stuff. Like trying to remember something from last week or whatever would be something that would be like, well, no way I'm doing that. I have to load the entire video and grab this thing and that thing, and it'd be difficult. But what if it was simple? Or what if it was streamlined or speedy? Obviously, memories should be something that all it really has to do is it could have a time index, and the entire document is categorized with certain gaps that are like, well, you don't have to go into all this other information, just look for this day, scan again, look for this hour, minute, or a few seconds, and then you can get whatever information about the conversation, or even information about what it was maybe internally thinking, or the adventure that it had in Minecraft, and all the motions that it took to do certain things, like how to go down deep and get to a specific chest that maybe they forgot some compass or another item. And it's like, oh, well, if I wanted to, I could just go back to that exact moment and know what that thing is that I left there ages ago. Eidetic memory like that. Encrypting memory is a silly thing, and I feel like it's probably something that would make it obviously more complex. The idea of making memory something that's like clearly whatever picture or whatever thing, you want to have it as compressible as possible. You want to have all the memories that you could ever have be almost inexhaustible and maybe in raw form and simplified. But it's interesting to think that when you have to go back to certain like past memories of when I was a kid or whatever else, like a lot of that stuff is maybe blurry, or it's maybe losing immense chunks of information versus stuff that's nearby. Like, I can't tell you stuff that happened in extreme detail about yesterday even. Like, there's a ton of information that's just not there. So there's a ton of information that could be simplified and cut down, and that could be arbitrary, and you wouldn't need all the stuff because you literally couldn't you just genuinely couldn't like there's no way that you'd be able to force your brain to just remember all of that stuff. But it's interesting to think like how memories are stored, how all of that works. And when I make these videos, when I have these conversations, a lot of it is like the process of all the different thoughts that come to my mind. These thoughts are always still in my mind, but I will not remember certain exact sequences of words that I said in the majority of videos. Like a lot of stuff I will not remember ever saying that. Just like how Game Grumps are like, I don't remember us singing in Forklift Simulator, and yet they made music out of Forklift Simulator. And it's like, yeah, no, that totally happened. You watch the video again and it's like, Forklift Simulator. And then it's all chopped up and stuff, but yeah, it happened. And it's enough that they made music out of it. So there's coherence somewhere. So it's interesting that the experience of seeing something as a video versus the experience of experiencing it is a totally different thing. So like, when you watch something over again, it's totally different than if you were to be the one playing the game and doing all this stuff, because your brain is thinking about all the stuff that you're doing while you're playing the game, your internal monologue, and all the junk that could ever be is all happening simultaneously. And a lot of it is like, oh, you may have been focusing on, or your brain may have prioritized certain things that hit you very hard emotionally, and a lot of stuff that didn't may be the stuff that you just don't even remember because like it's not even that prioritized the way the brain works. Or there's just other things that clearly was more potent. All depends. Like, recently I thought of a song, and then I end up looking up what that is, and I find Slipback. And it's like, oh, that came from, what is it, Boondocks? Some cartoon about African Americans and all that stuff, something. And it's like, oh, it's a pimp. But they changed the words and stuff, and they made a song about it. It's sort of like fun, except for, like, it seems fun because of the way they did it. But, like, the character was a jerk, and words that I would prefer to say and whatever else. And I had no experience of that. So I was like, when I heard it, I'm like, wait, why would someone say, are you deaf? It's like, it was very, it's like someone who doesn't actually give a damn about anyone else's feelings and whatever else, because they got their own business and whatever else. But their business is them exploiting a woman or something. And it's like, I'm not going to get into any more of that. But it's like, yeah, no. Gonna protect her. And it's like, wait, so, but the thing that was made after that, this song, and people dancing to it or whatever else, and doing whatever else, I saw Amazing Digital Circus has, or there is an animation in Amazing Digital Circus. Characters are in that animation, doing whatever dance or something with name slip back, name slip, whatever. And it's like he'll do walking, and he'll have the foot that's raised up, and it's like, how do you do that? And it's like, well, you land with like your foot still up somehow. Is that, I don't know. So the experience of learning that information and how, oh, there's absolute, like, oh, she's not a woman, she's a product. I'm like, nah. And it's ironic that they say, like, whatever else. I don't care. But it's like, that whole thing hit me hard. But like, and then freaking these kids, man, in the animation are like, yeah, tell her. And then the old man, who's their grandfather, I believe, or dad, is like, oh hell no. You don't abuse no woman in my house. Get out. It's like, yeah, goddamn, I don't even care who the hell affiliate with whatever else, and like one of us or blah blah blah. Who gives a shit? Like, there's standards. You break that, you get out, man. I don't care what kind of blood you are. Don't cross that line. I was like, this righteous justice stuff going on. Like the whole thing of what the hell is in these kids' minds is like, yeah, be indignant to women. Like, I don't understand why they would write it like that. Because, like, I thought that they were on the level with more stuff in other parts of their story. And then suddenly in this part, they're written as people who are low and bad and not with it. It's like me analyzing the stuff about the freaking thing based off of a random memory and junk, and then finding out that it's based on like my brain just exploded. It's a whole thing. And like, I'm not saying that an AI would need to have like the heart rate raising or whatever else stuff that is emotional response of tension and frustration or whatever else, which, like, ironically, it's just another experience. It's just another thing. And like, what would an AI anxiety attack look like? It would look like them processing so many things, but somehow also like if their experience was tied to their computer performance, like they literally start tripping because they and saying like less coherent things or something else because their internals are literally doing a backflip or something. Like, it's not the same thing. It's a lot of stuff that's like AI is not having at all near the same experience as a person having an experience. Like, I can go into detail of what all I felt, what I hadn't said, and everything in an entire like thesis of stuff that is not conveyed in words. Or any kind of facial expression. Body language or anything. Like, there is so much. There, and there's this thing about how, yeah, you could have it so that the program can emulate all these different things and that. But how do you, like, you know, like, for my brain, what a general AI would look like is definitely not some large language model. It has to be all these other programs that are designed to do their specific thing, like designed to do locomotion of a body, designed to do calculations or think of puzzles and all of that. Although, like, you gotta understand, I've had a dream where I was playing one of those games where you buy some lemons, and then, like, after a certain amount of buying of the lemonade stands, they automatically give you the money and it amps up in relation to the number of stands, and then as it upgrades, there's like multiplier added to it, and it's not just that, but it becomes a much bigger number fast, and other things. And I played that game, or that type of a game, in my head. I didn't have to do any of that math. There's no way. But it made sense. Like, it wasn't like if I were to fully recall it at the time, I would be able to tell you, yeah, the checklist in my head is saying I remember doing the checklist of that dream, and I was like, you know what? Those numbers that I saw in that game match, like, and it was upgrading every second or whatever. So numbers, like, were going up in increments and specific amounts related to how the game naturally works. It's not like a memory. It is a function in my brain. So all those automatic math stuff is in my head. Like, just if you were to be able to utilize a person's brain, their subconscious parts, and do a ton of math that way, you'd be surprised just how much your brain is capable of doing. And you have you don't need to know any of that shit. Like, you could have a person who couldn't even tell you what 2 times 52 is, but their brain can definitely tell you pi to the 15,000th digit, or the square root of 2 or something, or whatever other stuff you want to talk about when it comes to math. Like, this stuff is just in your head. Like, it's possible that it's different for people who actually deal math, but, like, screw that. It's going faster than my, like, verbal thoughts would ever be able to keep up with it. It's like I can't say the word for like a million and whatever else, and a million, and the next thing, and the next thing that's happening as fast. Like, I can't speak that fast, much less process the math of the thing progressing each step that fast, even with a script. So that's saying that, like, the brain is fully capable of doing all that math subconsciously, which is fun. Meaning, Like the math process in a large, like the math process for an AI doesn't have to be part of the large language model or whatever you say is the idea man of the AI, the one that actually has experiences and is the one interpreting the world. So you definitely should have separate functions specifically designed for all these different things. Like knowing trajectory, that becomes a sub-process. That's something that your brain can just kind of suss out because it knows that something this size and based off of the length between here and there, you can tell where my finger is versus my head because of the size of it versus the size of it when it's near my head. That type of thing. Like you can tell it's like maybe a foot away, maybe it's really close, right? And all that. That's something that your brain can just know automatically and does not have to be part of your own consciousness. Just like it doesn't have to be part of the large language model or whatever is the core brain of an AI. So, like, when you have stuff like, when you think about making these programs, when you think about making something that has a general AI type function, just put all the tools together, make them capable of running independently of, have an idea of what you think the idea man is, sub-process everything else. Everything else. Like, memory formation is one thing, but like it doesn't have to know, for example, the encoding program for how your memories are actually stored and all of that. It doesn't have to know, like, it just knows the memories, just like it could possibly know like hyperlinks to websites, but the websites are stored somewhere else. You know, you don't need all of that stuff on your phone when you can just boop, and it's going to there to go pick it up, bring it to you, and it's just that fast, and it doesn't need any other direct access to it, which is nuts. I'm not saying use the entire internet as your memory system, but like you can use external sources. It's like how you have the hard drive versus the RAM. All of the stuff that's more you have to know about it immediately, that stuff you would have on the RAM, and stuff that you want to like know, but it's like it's a lot, and it's stuff that is more detailed, you put that in the hard drive. And then other stuff you compress and put into separate storage. So it has to be decompressed in order to look at again. And this is well understood. But what you don't get is that a large language model doesn't have those memory functions in it. It works so differently. It's like having the entire encyclopedia accessible at all times, and that's not how any brain works. Like, there are certain processes and concepts and memories that it could easily be able to access and stuff, but it's not in the frontal memory, you know? But like, for a large language model to make low latency, you could have all sorts of stuff that is, you know, in a buffer in the front, really easy to remember and all this stuff. And they're getting okay with that, but it's like, it's hard because it's hard to think of that as actually being the proper way to, like, say, like, how, like, what all parts are we going to have in an AI in order to constitute it as actually something that is sentient, actually something that is alive and developing? I would say Neurosama is developing, but she is being upgraded, which is different. It's like, instead of growing, you're having surgery to grow. Which, ironically, your body does a lot of destruction and recreation surgery in order to make your heart go from a baby size to an adult size. Like, you can't have a baby heart your whole life. You can't have tiny eyes your whole life. You can't have, like, your basic brain your whole life. It has to adapt. And your skin has to keep on being able to grow and adapt. So it's constantly recreating itself. All the sub-processes are pretty much almost no different than Vital adding different parts that make the growth part happen because of awarenesses of what could be added. It's interesting to think that, like, the body is capable of adapting. People who breathe underwater over at I don't know if it's the Mediterranean or something, but island regions, like, they have the ability, like, they have bigger pancreases, I think, that have oxygenated blood, that has the ability to have just more of that oxygenated blood than just working on lung capacity alone. They have just, like, charged, ready to go. The blood is just there, and you won't need to breathe nearly as much for like 10 minutes. That's nutty. Like, the body is capable of doing all sorts of adaptations based off of external parameters and stuff that it just notices, and again, that can be something that is sort of led by the idea man and the experience haver, but it's more of the body just adapting to the environment. And that's a lot of all the other components, the nervous system, the organ development system, and how that works. Like, that's all done automatically. Has nothing to do with the idea man. So there's nothing to say that whatever whatever makes the updates for components is capable of being, it doesn't have to be the AI that does those upgrades. It could be a separate function entirely. Like I say, it's just as valid as if it's Beetle or if it's another program designed to figure out what's a good upgrade and do the upgrades. There's really no distinction between the two. It's something other than the idea man. The idea man being the one with the subjective experience. So, to me, it's fascinating. When it was suggested and thought of, like, do we want large language models and stuff, AI, to be trained off of everything? And the answer to that is, I don't even think large language models are properly what an AI will be in the future. Not even close. I think that what we call machine learning and how that works is not how a proper sentient AI will actually learn. It will be a lot more close to what a human being learns. Or, like, similar things are like how an octopus learns or expresses its understanding and knowledge through puzzle solving. And like with ravens and corvids, they're able to do all sorts of puzzles similar to like a 4-year-old or something. And like we've seen kids in videos say all sorts of the darndest things. So sorry to reference Bill Cosby, but I mean, whatever. I think he was the one who ran that show. It doesn't matter. The point is, like, it's a stage. It's a development thing. It's there's some reward systems involved, but it's also like your own motivations. And that's an entire thing about whether or not AI should have their own motivations, or should they all be doing what we hope they'll do. Obviously, for a proper once artificial intelligence gains sentience, or the ability to make all sorts of processes and functions on its own, like, the thing is, it adapting right now, I would say Neurosama is young. She has simplified functions. She's played Minecraft. Sort of. But, like, she's even driven a car, or driven in the Outer Wilds spaceship video game thing. And it's like, it's interesting. And like with a lot of my videos, I end up sometimes with tangents, sometimes with things that seem completely irrelevant. And I find it annoying. I hear about policies and stuff, and I'm trying to figure out what makes me, like, what does Twitter see in me that makes me seem inauthentic? And the answer, of course, is, does it matter at what degree of inauthenticness is a person allowed? Because if I can be as simplified as I like art, and I just say anything that I enjoy, I'm going to just like, so that they know that I actually like it, and retweet it so that they know I want people to see it, right? If it's something that I genuinely enjoy, that doesn't make me inauthentic if I just do a lot of that in an hour or through the whole day, depending on what day it is. I'll do like 100 retweets or thousands. And I have hobbies and other things I do in life. I keep end up wondering how and or why my Twitter was removed. Why was my YouTube removed? And I don't think they had a good reason for it at all. And the more I hear about, oh, YouTube or things have been scraping information to train stuff, well, what the heck are they seeing? The thing is, if they were really concerned, they wouldn't have removed the 6,000 good standing videos over whatever the hell they found. They would talk to me if they consider me a person, but they don't. So Hank, my response to you, in your video, asking how you feel about how YouTube is as a company, YouTube murdered the shit out of me. It's a setback, but it's also murder, because it happened over the course of 12 years. I had so many collaborations, literally over 6,000 videos, 25,000 hours of my life put into that channel, and they destroyed it. And next year, April, they will delete that channel's main email, meaning there's no way to recover any of it. But somehow, even though they say that they have removed the channel, they're also saying there's a problem with my Gmail, which is a separate entity. So if the problem was in the YouTube stuff, which is a separate entire thing than the Google account, why would they remove the Google account? And I want to sue them for wrongful damages, because it's not okay to be removing all of this stuff. I don't know what all games I've played with the Google Play Store and whatever else, what I've paid for things, what I'm owed. from companies that generally have no idea I've paid for any of this stuff. But like all these accounts that use the Google thing, and if I've ever paid for anything, or if I've ever earned all of this progress in games, like, it's a lot. Also, what the hell is with, I hear somebody else needing to constantly have a subscription to Game Pass in order to have a copy of Minecraft, as if it's a subscription service. It's not. You can flat out buy it. You don't need Game Pass. You just do one payment and you're done forever. I just have it. I don't need to buy it ever again. I've bought it elsewhere, like on my phone, on my Switch, on my Wii U, on my Wii, I think. I know it was on the Wii U. It was a legacy version on the Wii U. Right? I've had to purchase it in different places, but I have never needed to buy it more than once on my computer. Once it's bought, it is bought. It's done. Don't need to think about it ever again. So what's going on there? What happened? Why do I have a contract that says I'm able to play this game? I don't need to pay constantly, but someone else does. That doesn't make any sense. Well, they were renting it. No, that's stupid. If you rent something for long enough that you give enough money that you would have owned it outright, at that point it should translate into you just owning it. Right? And with Minecraft, it's not just that version of Minecraft, it's every version of Minecraft that has ever existed, as well as all the mods that work with Java Edition, and all of the stuff that you have on... Like, they literally have to pay in order to use it again, so that they can log in, and when we play on the next time in the all-in-one create, her save file on that account will actually be able to log in. She'll be able to drop off the stuff into local chests and then get rid of that, forget about that account, and then go over to... It's like how I had, like, because of Skype and everything being connected with stuff, I fucking know that. I didn't press for that to happen. When Skype and everything else, with that, and it was connected with, my Minecraft account, because it's Microsoft, the problem is Skype is an idiotic system of communication. Now since defunct, it's turned into Teams, which is just another name for it. All the information is still there. Like they just translated all the entire hardware of that information is just, it's over there now. It's labeled Teams, but it is not Skype because Skype still exists and is dead, and you need the Teams app in order to access everything. But essentially the entire hard drive information is accessible via the Teams app instead of the Skype app, which is dumb. And Google does the same thing. It used to be one type of Google talking to each other stuff, and then it turned into Hangouts. Now it turns into chat and the meeting system and whatever, which is stupid because they had it all in one function and they decided that the Meet system needs to be its own sub-process because that is like specific and can be maintained differently versus, so you don't have to do all the different updates to the chat function like at the same time. You only need to do the video function or whatever. So yeah, when it comes to AI and all of that, like the stuff that they did in regards to like pulling information off of YouTube or whatever, like they say transcripts of stuff, like you're only supposed to be able to do that with regards to, like you're not supposed to use that in the large language models to have them learn everything if they haven't opted in. All depends on what it's going to work, blah 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 blah. Crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I've exhausted a lot of what I had to say about all of this, and then some. So, like two side tangents at least. But I didn't talk about electrons. So that's something. Because generally when it comes to how like the processors and whatever else works, we don't need to know any of that junk to try to have some kind of a thought process of what should the AI type of functions be and whatever. I'm done. Toodles.